Life is busy. As it seems the earth spins faster day by day. To stay relevant in this ever-changing world, you must adapt. And that is what television did. Televisions can be found in almost every home across the world, but 100 years ago, no one even knew what a television was. In 1927, a then 21-year-old American by the name of Philo Taylor Farnsworth invented the world's first electronic television. 30 years later, the world's first true remote-controlled television was produced and released. Between the 1950s and the 2000s, television transformed itself from niche technology to a critical form of communication found in living rooms and bedrooms across the world. Fast forward another 50 years. Television had begun to gain credibility worldwide, and when Jamaica celebrated the first anniversary of its independence in 1963, the first ever Jamaican television broadcast was made. Throughout the following decades, television began to flourish in Jamaica, and with original content like Public Eye and A Lime Tree Lane. By the year 1991, Jamaica had its second television station, CVM TV. However, by the start of the 21st century, television content had begun to evolve. In 2000, DVD was introduced, and by the year 2000, flat screens had taken over the walls of every household across the world. And by the year 2000, the introduction of smart TVs, virtual reality, and 3D television really upped the ante. Television then began its transition away from the rectangular box we all know it as, to mobile phones, laptops, and tablets. Nowadays, television content can be found all across the internet. Television is a part of every family and every home. It babysits, it educates, it comforts, and it even watches us sometimes. Television is a major part of our lives, an inseparable part of modern culture. But what does the future of television hold? Is the television even a part of the future of television?
Welcome, everyone, and to all our viewers online to this year's World TV Day 2020 panel discussion hosted by the Caribbean School of Media, CARIMAC. I'm Roxy Nickel, a producer and presenter at The Edge 105 FM. But for this evening's discussion, I am honored to be your moderator today. So allow me to give you some information on the event. Jamaica first joined the annual celebration of the United Nations World Television Day in 2016, and since then has continued to acknowledge and celebrate it. Jamaica's participation in this global celebration was done to recognize the immense influence that television has on shaping the Jamaican society. The first major acknowledgement of World Television Day in Jamaica was orchestrated and executed by final year students at the Caribbean School of Media and Communication, CARIMAC, at the University of the West Indies, Mona, in association with the Jamaica Film and Television Institute, of which I'm a proud alumni. Now, 5 years later, final year public relations students continue the celebration with a panel discussion leading to today's topic, TV, the future is now. We all know television plays a huge role in disseminating information on major global issues such as conflicts, decision-making processes, and threats to peace and security. In addition to driving awareness, World Television Day serves as a time for governments and organizations to renew their commitment to support the growth of television into a medium that provides impartial information and programs on matters that have societal impact. And today, we are honored to have amongst us a great panel who will share their experiences of working in the Caribbean TV industry, and help to predict future scenarios of TV by 2030, as well as to answer a few questions from you, our online audience. But before that, before we introduce the panelists and start the discussion, I now welcome Dr. Livingston White, Director of the Caribbean School of Media and Communications, to give us his remarks. Dr. White?
Thank you, Roxine. Happy World Television Day 2020, everyone. Many organizations around the world are celebrating World Television Day today, and CARIMAC is pleased that we're able to join in the celebrations by hosting a panel discussion. This panel discussion, as you heard from Roxine, is being planned by a group of final year students in our undergraduate program in Integrated Marketing Communication. They're doing it for coursework grade for the course Public Relations Lab, IMCC 3601, being led by Dr. Anthea Henderson and coordinated by Dr. Alpha Obika. So congratulations to the students for continuing this celebration. And I hope as they're watching Roxine, a graduate of CARIMAC, come back to host the event, they will also be looking forward to coming back in future years to help to host the event as well. As Roxine mentioned, we have a great panel lined up for you. And I wanted to encourage the students to use the opportunity to network. All the panelists are special to CARIMAC. You know, they have a special relationship with us. They've helped our students, mentored our students, and we're happy that they're able to take the time out today to celebrate World Television Day with us. We have a representative from Phase 3. You will learn more about that. And a representative from the lab, a creative agency in Jamaica, Frame of Reference, post-production, and of course, the Digicel Group. All these individuals, some of them are graduates of CARIMAC, and some have mentored our students and given internships. And I know some of our students watching will be looking forward to being an intern for these organizations. So please use the event as an opportunity to network. Let me encourage you to participate in the chat room and ask questions, and of course support the students as they seek your feedback and work towards getting that A that I'm sure they're working very hard for. Once again, thanks for joining us and welcome to CARIMAC's World Television Day celebration for 2020.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. And I remember those days when we were working for the A, and we wish them all continued success. Now, the final year public relations students at CARIMAC are the driving force behind this production today. Of course, they're saddened by the fact that COVID-19 has shifted it online. However, they wanted to meet with you face-to-face and went into the streets to get some comments and perceptions on attitudes towards television. Please watch this video presentation.
Hi guys, my name is Corey and we're here in the streets trying to get some information from random people about their use of or consumption of, TV content. And yeah, just follow us, come on. When you hear the word TV, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Okay, in my perspective, I think TV is a social platform where I can watch and entertain myself on a daily basis. That's what I think it is to me.
Would you say you watch content on the box TV or you watch it on other devices like probably a
these days?
Wow, so you don't watch traditional TV no more?
No, I don't.
You don't turn it on no more?
Not really, no.
Not really? When was the last time you turned it on?
Boy, I leave that to mommy. Everything is laptop, phone.
Would you say you watch as much TV now as you used to watch it 10 years ago?
I think I watch it more now than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, so? I think I was in high school, so my mom was like, no TV. Yeah. I mean, no, we have like Netflix and you can watch YouTube by your TV, have like a nice cable and something there. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely watch TV now more.
So that means you don't watch traditional TV no more?
No, I really don't. I can't get every now and again, I can't watch a little news. I can't really take the dead something there every now and again, so I kind of just stay away from that. But yeah.
I know them with it. Okay, so if you watch local TV, what are some of the type of programs you watch on local TV?
I hate watching the news, so I don't watch local TV. I would probably watch like Business Access TV, and that's really just it. The Local news, I get it online.
Okay, cool.
So,
and normally when you watch things online, what you normally use your phone or your laptop?
Laptop, yeah.
So if you're watching Netflix, you watch Netflix on your laptop?
Always.
Okay, cool. And you spend more time on Netflix than you normally spend on Netflix?
Definitely, no commercials.
All right, cool. Why is it that you don't watch national TV or traditional TV anymore?
Well, mainly because I am not home. I'm mostly at work. And so by the time I'm leaving out in the mornings, I'll maybe catch a little bit of Smile Jamaica or one of those programs, but I don't really have the time to sit down and watch it. Well, the thing about Netflix is that you're watching it on your time. So you can stop it, you can pause it, you can go back to it, you can watch 5 minutes, you can watch half an hour, so you're not committed to sitting down in front of it because the program is only going to come at that time.
Okay, cool. There you have it. We've heard from the viewers what is TV, what does TV mean to them, the type of device that they use to watch TV, or whether it's a phone, whether it's a laptop, whatever they use. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Corey. So as you see there, we have some work to do because a lot of persons use their laptop, some of their phones, and we know Netflix is the way to go. And so traditional television has lost its fervor. So we have to work on that. And of course, for those on the go as well. So now that we've heard some of your views, we're going to discuss it with the experts in the field. And remember, the theme for today is TV, the future is now. And some of the discussion will focus around expanding on the definition of television in terms of content and access current consumer behavior and demand for content, assess how players in the Caribbean television industry create content and use technology to meet customer demand, and predict future scenarios for TV by 2030. I know our panelists are eager to share in the discussion, and you as well. But before I introduce them to you, I'd like to inform you that you can participate by sharing your comments in the chat section of the YouTube, and then we will field any questions to the panelists, and then we will post them after. We will pose them after they've done each of their presentations to us, after they're being introduced. So, and also to the panelists, you have 3 minutes to answer this introductory question and any other information that you find relevant to the topic. We will field the other questions openly. So let me introduce our panelists. Beginning with Delano Forbes Jr., co-owner and key driver for Phase 3 production. He understands television and the business of television and has worked across the Caribbean, producing live multi-camera sports and entertainment events, among other TV-related projects. Welcome, Delano.
Thank you, Roxy.
Twain Richardson, with over 10 years in video post-production. Twain is an editor, colorist, workflow supervisor at Frame of Reference, a boutique post-production facility in Jamaica specializing in digital content and films. After receiving his certification in production and video editing, he found his passion in video editing and never looked back. Welcome, Twain. Next up, Tashara Lee Johnson, Chief Operating Officer at The Lab. In this role, Ms. Johnson oversees business operations, drives organizations' efficiencies, and supports growth initiatives. An experienced television producer with a demonstrated history of working in the media production industry, skilled in broadcasting, advertising, and video. Welcome, Tashara.
Thank you, Roxanne.
And up next, Elon Parkinson, current Public Relations and Communications Manager at the Digicel Jamaica Group. Elon has been a reporter and presenter at Nationwide News Network and a television producer and host at CVM Television, where he hosted and produced the cutting-edge current affairs and lifestyle program Live at 7. Welcome, Elon.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yes, and welcome to all our panelists. Welcome to everyone. Thank you all for agreeing to participate in today's panel discussions. So we're going to go right into it. The first question, everyone will have a chance to answer. And I'm going to begin with you, Delano. The question is, what is TV?
Well, thanks again, Carmack, for having me. What is TV? That's honestly a complicated question. It's a little trickier than we think. And I think it means different things to different people. Off the bat, some people may think of TV as an appliance, some kind of a display, whether it was a long back in the day, or a plasma screen, or a LED TV now, with all its functionality, as a way to consume content. For me, behind the scenes, TV more represented a method of transmission. So if we look in our local landscape, I'm going to think off the bat, free-to-air TV stations, CBM, TVJ Love. Also, I'm going to start thinking cable platforms, Digicel, Flow, and their channels, Sportsmax, Flow One, etc. And I'm going to think of linear channels that you can't really time shift or jump around. Obviously, we'll get to a lot of those concepts as we have more discussion. But to other persons, I think TV represents a type and a genre of content, regardless of how it's being delivered. So off the bat, people think news. News content is often associated with TV. Live sports, pretty much until recently, has been exclusively one of the last things we claim is saving TV as compared to all the streaming services, which, as we know, is evolving, and we'll speak a lot on that. Talk shows, reality shows, but narrative, high production value content, for some reason, like feature type, was not traditionally viewed as TV. It used to be the lower end stepchild, like soap operas and that kind of thing. So again, I think TV means different things to different people. Behind the scenes, for me, is transmission. For other persons, it might be an actual physical device or a screen, and the type of content. Obviously, social media is playing a huge role in the way forward, and all the new digital platforms. I find it funny when people tell me now they're watching Twitter, and I'm not talking about a live stream on Twitter or any of those platforms. They're literally reading comments, and for them, that's a viewing experience, And pretty much everybody's a channel now. We're all somewhat channels. Those of you who are sharing content on Facebook or Instagram, etc. There's never been a time like this that we can all share content and pretty much, share ideas and share our own content. I'm in the TV business, and to be absolutely honest, I've stopped watching TV for a little while. Pretty much all of my content is consumed via YouTube or any other kind of OTT platform. So, as I said, in a nutshell, it's a really challenging time in terms of defining TV. It's also a very exciting time, though, because there are all these new opportunities being created.
Thank you so much, Delano. And now, Twain, your turn to tackle this question. What is TV?
Thank you. Well, Delano pretty much covered a majority of it, in the sense that most persons, when they think of TV, they think about the actual physical item. But to me, TV is a form of entertainment. And for me, who is someone who works in the film industry, my role, which is the post-production side of it, for me, that's really where TV is made. Because they can always shoot the programs, etc. But not unless it's actually packaged together, then you won't be able to actually watch it, or it won't be entertaining. So for me, TV is on the post-production side of stuff, the final last lap. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Twain. Tashara Lee, what is TV?
Yeah, for me, TV, as Twain would have alluded to, is really a staple of entertainment. And I think we've seen it evolve over the years. It's synonymous with what live shows once were, And sitting on the content side through the agency, it's really looking at how do you meet the consumers, using that data from behind the scenes then to drive that experience to get them to watch it. As Delano would have said as well, like a major part of TV now is, and you would have heard it in the Vox Pop, the news and definitely sports. And those are probably the real drivers behind it now. And what I think we're faced with is that TV has evolved from the system and that bigger screen that we know it as to these small screens. And that could mean, your phone, your laptop, your car, and it's really transitioning that entertainment into different eras. So it won't forever be in this, or it will be in there with other things, but it's really the staple of entertainment through which content is passed through.
Okay, thank you, Tashara. Elon, what is
Hi,
TV?
thanks. Look, I think TV has evolved and yet it has remained the same. What is the sameness about it? The fact of it being a tool of social, and if you want to be a little bit more nuclear about it, familial unity. Back in the day when TV was invented, the truth is that this was a tool, an appliance, necessary appliance in the household to bring families together. They would sit together, they would watch content that, back in the day they couldn't have controlled, but nonetheless, the fact of family coming together was very important moments around that television set. Now, obviously the technology has evolved. We have small screens. Kids can go off into their rooms and still be watching whatever content they want to watch. Mom and dad will be in the living room just the same, watching the news and whatever else in terms of current affairs and entertainment. But still, if you go back to those responses that we picked up in the Vox Pop, you will discover that people still think somehow that the television set is what truly brings people together in the familial space. So I think that to the degree that TV continues to be that tool of cohesion among members of the family, it will maintain its relevance. Now, why do I say that as well? When you look at advancements in television, right? Screens have gotten bigger, the technology has gotten more, to some people, difficult to manipulate, but nonetheless, they still buy it, right? And people want bigger. They want surround. They want crystal displays. They want to stand up at various angles from the TV and still be able to see every megapixel very clearly with great resolution, right? And so what that tells you is that it still has its pride of place, right? When you look these days, people hardly want to buy anything below 40 inches in terms of screen size. Exactly. And you ask yourself, but we grew up on a TV that was 18 or 32 inches. When you had a 32-inch TV in your house, back in the day, you were king of the hill, right? Nowadays, if you have anything under 55 inches, for instance, well, people kind of wonder. I mean, you're going to some living rooms, for instance, and you wonder why the TV taking up so much real estate. So it tells you that TV is still that thing that brings the family together, right? And if it is even for an hour out of the week, and if it is even to be watching Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime content, it still enables families to come together. And to the degree that it does, is why I believe its relevance will live on for a very long time.
Okay, thank you so much. We have lots to discuss from all our panelists, what TV is and how technology has changed it. But let's just start at what is going on right now, panelists. COVID-19 and how it has, let's use that word, affected technology. So I'm throwing it out to any one of the panelists. How has COVID-19 redefined what a TV is?
Well, I think, Roxine, certainly COVID-19 has accelerated the rate at which we'll see digital adoption. The types of events and the types of content which have been forced to pretty much be online that we never thought could be online and still have some kind of relevance and impact. So I think it has definitely accelerated the whole the movement of television and the adoption of digital technologies that much more. Elon made a very good point, I think, in terms of the communal value of TV and coming around the TV socially. I do think, however, though, technology, once again, the splintering the household.
Exactly.
I have a little one and I have a hard time now. He's on his iPad. I'm here. So, I'm sure we'll discuss a little bit more, moving forward. But I think COVID has really just accelerated the timeline of something, by a number of years of a trend that was obviously, already in play. I mean, here at Phase 3, we're producing all kind of virtual content I never ever imagined or thought would be relevant or have a purpose. So whereas one part of our business pretty much, evaporated overnight, the other part of streaming and, streaming different types of content just evolved, exponentially,
Right.
So I think it's really just accelerated the pace of certain streaming technologies.
Okay. Tashara, I've worked with the lab. How has it affected you in terms of like say myself was a voice talent and all the others? How has it affected the lab?
I wouldn't say it has affected us negatively. Just as Delana said, it's really accelerated. And I mean, Elon can speak, being a client of ourselves as well. It's really accelerated this digital world. What is funny is that in the beginning of COVID, in April, we saw what was happening and we did some underground research similar to Vox Pops. And it's amazing what you can get from just simple stuff like that, because data is going to be a key factor moving into the future. And what we found is that whilst there is this kind of excessive migration to digital, which are the smaller devices, TV was still relevant. And those were the two at the top here, probably because COVID also confines it to a space, and so that communal sense is still there, but that was the primary almost gatekeeper of giving information. So a lot of the other mediums, for example, maybe the radio is still highly viewed, but for example, the news, that would have seemingly, like the ratings for that would have fallen. However, TV, I believe, is as much as still relevant as digital. Of course, because digital is readily available and accessible, that form of experience is easier. People use that more. People have their mobiles, and it's more, which is it's on the go. So I think TV generally has been it's still relevant, and COVID really has accelerated the need for digital, but there's still relevance in TV.
Twain, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say that if you look at a lot of the big players in the market, in terms of example like a HBO, while they do have a digital platform, they're still keeping their cable network around. And that is because while in the traditional sense of you sitting down to watch a TV, using your remote to flip through a station, while it's going down, there's still some form of relevance there. While you may be able to watch something on your phone, the experience is not the same as sitting down and watching it on a bigger screen. So yeah, I think the TV it's here for a little bit more. While I agree with Delana and Tashara in terms of that COVID has sped up the digital push, but I still do think that cable networks are still here for a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Twain. In your various fields of work, what are the demands for TV content? What are you finding that is being asked for, or you find that when you put that out there, that is what is being absorbed more?
Well, for me, on my side, what I'm being asked for more is that, we're producing it for social media. We want it for social media. It's just that I'm being asked more to produce stuff for social media, and producing stuff for social media is not it's not different from how you would actually produce it for TV.
Right.
It's still the same process. It's just that one is takes a different format versus the other. For example, sending something to a TV station, you might send a ProRes file, but sending something to a social media channel, you might send a H.264 file. So it still has to be produced as if you're producing it for TV. It's just the final output would be different. What I can say though is that this year I've actually worked on numerous amount of live concerts or live concerts. I've done a lot of that this year, and still being asked to do a lot more. Yeah, that's one thing for social media and live concerts.
Right.
Yeah. Roxine, I just want to jump in here because Twain touched on live concerts, and that's precisely been our experience over the past couple of months. For instance, with everybody locked in, what we decided to do at Digicel was to host a series of what we call unplugged concerts, and we would do them every other Sunday featuring local artists, and it was a big hit. I mean, everybody wanted to tune in to check out their favorite artists. And, you know, we looked at the comments and we saw where people were simply thirsty for entertainment content. You know, they've seen enough of the recorded stuff. They've seen enough of the reruns on TV and, you know, clicking constant replay on YouTube and other channels. And they simply wanted live. They simply wanted to see something happening in front of them. So the demand, I believe, is going to continue to swell. Because we're likely to be locked in for a little while longer than we think. And to that degree, it now opens up the question as to whether we have the sufficiency of bandwidth to make it more inclusive. Because the truth is that as more live content is being put out there, more people come into knowledge of it. And then the question is there a barrier to entry in terms of bandwidth? I think we might want to look at that a little bit later on. If I may just jump back a little bit though, you mentioned earlier about what people are doing with TV these days. And I have to put this one in that it's also a tool of learning, right? And so gone are the days when we used to just watch Junior Schools Challenge Quiz and Schools Challenge Quiz and, you know, pick up something along the way and say, oh, I didn't know that, right? No, there are lessons being delivered via that medium, right? And it's a game changer in a COVID-19 situation where, especially in rural Jamaica, we are still challenged by access to the internet. Now, you have the free-to-air providers stepping up to the plate and providing the modules and the lessons to the students for them to have access to the information. Can't leave out the cable operators as well, because they too have been providing dedicated channels for access. So, you know, two big things there happening for TV in response to COVID-19, entertainment and learning.
Right. I know we're talking about entertainment and Delano, Tashara Lee, meeting these demands with the technology. How is that?
Well, I was just going to say, Roxine, in a way, because the technology has become more accessible, you know, because there are a plethora of new players in the streaming and these kinds of things. What I'm surprised by is, you know, how many new clients have engaged us, not just because of technology, but because of just ability to make good content, you know, and good storytelling. Like, it's not rocket science. Good guy, bad guy. A good old story will get you a far way, you know. You spoke about entertainment, you know, with Twain. We worked together on the virtual production of Reggae Sumfest this summer. When we pulled that production together, it was quite engaging, but the numbers and the engagement we got after the fact were through the roof.
Right.
You know, and I know it's
Let me say on behalf of everybody that it was excellent. We enjoyed it thoroughly.
Well, you can thank Twain right there for many sleepless nights at this hour. So, you know, and we enjoy being a part of game-changing projects. And I do think that was a project, you know, Versus was just before it. And it came out, you know, it came at a time that, you know, I think meant a lot to us as professionals to do what we love, as well as making an impact in the marketplace. But there's been an overwhelming demand for streaming. But what we're finding more, not just streaming, because every man have a camera now and can call Elon and get a connection. But now we're adding more production techniques, which are the same techniques that we've been using from the 19 whatever. You know what I mean? So we're relying heavily on our background as TV professionals, and as Twain says. So, I mean, we've never been so busy doing content for traditional media, social media. We've been doing a lot of content for overseas people because the artists can't travel. We produce the Essence Music Festival that's normally physically in New Orleans, but because the artists couldn't go, we've sent content to them for the Essence Music Festival, Nottingham Music Festival. So outside of just locally produced, we actually ended up doing a lot more content for export. for entertainment content as well as production content, because crews generally can't come to Jamaica right now. So I'm personally benefiting from an uptick because nobody can travel, you know?
Yes. So and of course we're gonna Tashara, you had something to add?
What Delano was saying, that's true. There is definitely an uptake in the requirements. I mean, the truth is people still want to be entertained, and people want the creative and the content, and we are tasked with developing that. To add to what Elon and Twain said earlier in terms of what is sought after now, in addition to live, you will also realize the emergence of micro-influencers, you know, and that is, people are looking for relatability, authentic content, and things that they can do as well. So you will see that taking a storm because it is real and it feels as a necessary part of their journey. And I think that is something else that is coming up, and looking at them as also competitors in this grand landscape of TV and the future of content. You know.
Oh, thank you all so much. There's so much more we're going to dive into, but let me just pause for a moment to welcome all our viewers that are joining us. You may have joined us after the introductions. Welcome again to the 5th staging of the World TV Day here in Jamaica, hosted by the Caribbean School of Media and Communication. And the theme is TV. The future is now. And for those of you online, I'd like to let you know that you can participate by putting your questions in the chat section of the YouTube broadcast. And the link, if you want to share it with your friends, is also there, so you can share it with them. It's pinned at the top of the chat. And if you'd like to share this event, just use the link and send it to them. So thank you again for joining in the discussion. We're going to go right back into it because we have much more that we want to unpack. We're looking at how TV will be and look and feel in 2030. Don't know if I'll be here. We don't know what tomorrow holds because we know how 2020 has been, but let's open our minds, and I'm throwing it out there to my panelists. What do you think TV will look and feel like in 10 years?
I think there are a few words that jump out for me thinking of TV in years, and it will be very personalized, data-driven, content-oriented, and experience. I think those 4 things are going to be critical to TV. What it will be, no one knows, because technology is moving way faster than we are. Yeah. And there's a need to keep up, but there's also a need to try and project so we can, in fact, be ahead in some aspect and not be left behind in this digital evolution.
Yeah, in terms of what TV will look like technically, I'll defer to Delano, right? But in terms of what TV will be experientially, I'm going to say that it's really going to be encircled around the content your way. It is already now, but I think even more so. And what that will mean, it's almost like, you know, so now you have the traditional broadcasters putting out content at a particular time, and, you know, it's for you to watch at that time, so you have to join, right? Of course, you know, you can record and whatever and watch it later, right? But I think as we move along, we may very well see sub-channels coming from main channels, and those sub-channels would now fit into your day based on how you want the content to be produced and presented at that material time. So if you are a TVJ viewer, for instance, and you decide, well, I want to watch morning time, but I don't want to watch the foreign program that comes right after that. But if you can package for me the sports that you played last night because I missed it, then put that in there too, right? And it's almost as if you are creating your own TV experience, right, from the traditional realm of TV.
Making it your own.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else has any?
I was going to say, Elon just touched on aggregating content, which I do think is definitely going to be a trend. And to go back to what Tashara was saying, micro-influencers and influencers on a whole generating their own content, user-generated content, I think that's going to play a big role in the way forward. Certainly, you go on Instagram, people are watching Instagram like it's TV, you know, and those micro-influencers and influencers now, whether it's on Instagram or even on YouTube, I follow some of these guys with 10 million subscribers and how they're monetizing content and watching the views. And, it's just going to be an interesting paradigm to see how that affects what we know as a traditional, television business.
Okay. So let's now look at the market. How do we see Caribbean television market in 2030? How do you think it will look? How will it be? Because everything has changed, as you've all said, where content is, how it's done, how it's put together. Elon?
I think before we even look at what the market is going to look like, I think we have to look at the regulatory framework around what will enable a 2030 market to look like such, in terms of measuring up to other more progressive markets. We have to look at the regulatory framework around what is now commonly described as free-to-air, for instance.
Right.
So free-to-air is free-to-air in a context where what you're seeing via the traditional medium, you can also see it via the internet, right? And what is this thing about licenses where television stations have to pay millions of dollars every year in order to obtain spectrum and to broadcast and all of that, right? Those things are going to be challenged going forward, in maybe even before we hit 2030, right? We're talking about digital conversion. We've been flogging that like a dead horse now. It's been quite some time overdue. And the question is, well, so what if we don't have digital conversion in the official sense? It's already taking place in terms of small screens, people on the go, having apps on their phones and going about their business and getting their content. Who cares about digital conversion anymore? And if we do, should there be a huge cost attached to it, like, in the traditional sense of running a television station, which perhaps explains why we only have 2 major ones, because the overheads are extremely expensive.
Yes.
So I think we need to really look at the regulatory framework around, TV itself and ask ourselves whether that can obtain, because governments across the region are going to have to play a very key role here, because this means giving up revenue, right? This means not booking revenue in the budget, when it comes on to certain licenses and fees, right? It means foregoing that, right? But then it would also mean now content creators and producers across the region stepping up. Delano spoke to it a while ago, UGC folks who are doing amazing things, right? And those things seeping into the traditional space as good content for television, right? And I know that there's a whole issue of filters, and we have the Broadcasting Commission that, of course, does it.
Right.
And the question is, how pertinent will the Broadcasting Commission be in such a situation? Do we absolutely need it when truth is you can get the content on internet and it's unfiltered, right? So what role do they play going forward? I think we would need to examine what the regulatory environment and framework is going to look like in order to truly enable not only the technological look of a 2030 TV environment in the Caribbean, but also the regulatory aspect of it.
Okay. All right. Well, I am going to pause my questions because the questions are coming in from the listeners, and whoever wants to jump on it. I'm going to take the first question. It's from Shan Allen. She asks, how do you think TV and production has changed from when you entered the industry versus now and where you see it heading? I think we touched on some of that in some of your responses. Anyone?
That I started maybe 10 years ago, I believe, or so, or a little bit more. And growing up in it, I've seen the evolution. I think, for example, and I can speak specific to production, I think there has to be a lot more agility in the sense of smaller teams, more nimble, even with COVID. And that has just transformed what production was or is. Of course, you have the feature film still and those things.
Right.
Mainly, but in terms of being more agile and nimble, as well as cost effective with the new players, those are some of the changes that have happened over the last 10 years, I would say.
Okay. The next question, Dominique Ramsey asks, what do you think can be done or implemented to boost the viewership or engagement of local television among Jamaica and the diaspora? I know that's a challenge. Anyone want to tackle that one?
I think, somewhat of the as a content producer, somewhat of the elephant in the room where doing good content is concerned is we don't, because of the expense of running a TV station, a traditional TV station, and even as it gets more competitive, as Elon made reference to, it's going to be even more challenging. Is TV stations only having, you know, one or two stations has us content producers in a position where even if we make a good show, we have to pay to put it on. We can't make a good show and then sell it in the local landscape, generally speaking, you know.
Right.
So that has had us pretty much slaved to depending on sponsors who often,
Right.
especially now, kind of got the
Not
sponsors
going
now
to
asking them
support.
to pay for your passion project. So I think that's a challenge in the landscape. And I, you know, honestly, this is something we've been asking for some while. I don't have the solution for it, but I think you'd find much better content if we were in a landscape where we could make good content, tell our stories, and then have some kind of financial out. Hey, sell it to a network.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, the way it's done in the States. If you follow JAFTA, I know Twain and Tashara know our members. Some of those shorts are great, are amazing content, and I'm sure the wider Jamaica would be surprised if they saw what local filmmakers were making. It's just that we don't often get an opportunity to showcase it locally because of those challenges.
Roxine, Delano raised an excellent point. I want to follow up on it because yes, we have the content issue. There's no question about it, right? But I think as well on a broader scale, there isn't a healthy respect for copyright in this country and for creative work, intangible work especially, right? We tend to think that production is something that you can feel and touch, right? And, you know, when you make something, people say, wait there, you know, and it's something that you can, you know, it's like a piece of furniture, right? And so, but once you get into the creative space in the digital world, for instance, and because people have become accustomed to downloading films without paying for it, right? Getting content being passed on for free and getting codes and access to content without paying, right? They seem to think somehow that, boy, you know, all this talk about paying a man for him content is foolishness. You know, the star of the movie, him making millions already. You know, it's all right if I bootleg it and continue, right? And, you know, I'm not saying that this kind of psychology has crept into, you know, the executive level, right? But I still believe that we just don't have a healthy level of respect for content creation in this country, right? And for seeing work for what it is and applying the worth to that work in terms of telling a man, look, this is excellent content. We'll pay you for it because we understand what it means to be invested, fully invested in something like this, right? And therefore, that investment needs to be recognized. It is unfortunate, right? I truly lament it that, you know, producers have to go almost a begging to sponsors for their content to be shown on local TV.
Well, since I have you, Elon, I have a question to you from Claire Grant. What is a business model that supports your vision, and how is the content financed?
That's a very big question, Claire. The business model that supports our business is simply encircled around our customers' needs, right? What are customers telling us that they want in terms of content, right? We, for instance, on the Digital Plus service created 2 channels, Catch 1 and Catch 2, and that essentially drives the kind of content that customers want to see on their own time, because they tell us that, look, I'd rather watching Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune at X time because it comes on a little bit too late and it clashes with the local news, especially when the US falls back 1 hour, right? So they give us all of those insights and then we pull the content together to suit them, right? We've now moved that into smartphones, right? Small screens. So we have the Play Go app, for instance. We have the SportsMax app that enables customers to get their content there. So not only can a customer watch a live football game when they have the English Premier League going on, but they can also watch the game on their own time a little bit later on because that game is curated on the app and they can go back and watch it time and again. So, you know, the business model is based on essentially what people want, and we keep collecting insights day in, day out before we make any changes, just to make sure that we maintain our relevance to customers.
Okay, thanks so much, Elon. The questions are coming in, so let me keep firing. Daniel Barrett says, how do you think the constraints of COVID-19 have affected the effectiveness of television as a medium? And do you think it's been affected? The ways in which it's been affected will result in the same effectiveness after we'll resume to normality. I don't know if we're going to resume to normality right now, but let's deal with the first part. How do you think it has affected the effectiveness of television as a medium? Dwayne?
What I can say is that for us, on the post-production side of things is that we've been doing a lot of remote work over the years. This year we've actually since COVID have ramped up a lot more. Working on set as well. Usually, going on set is like 15 people. Now it's instead of a crew of 30, it's a crew of 15. So producing effectively. It's going to definitely on us and the filmmakers. It's going to take a little bit more because now you might have to be doubling up on a role when you're on set, or you find that set days are going to have to be stretched from 1 day to 2 days, and so it has affected us in that way. But speaking on the post-production side, again, we've been doing remote work for years with our clients abroad. The team now is fully working from home, and we're still effectively producing content. So on the post-production side, I don't really think it affected us
that much. Okay, so this question is for Delano and Elon. Do you believe the post-millennial generation will really have the need for TV as a platform for news or entertainment, not just as a screen?
Personally, I think, again, defining TV is a starting point. I no longer think TV is just a screen. I think more of the type of content. And the type of content off the bat I'd associate with TV is going to be news type content. It's going to be, for now, still live sports and some of the other genres that we spoke to. So I think it's still going to have its place. It's going to be a very, very different kind of situation. I think it's going to be hard for, generally the linear TV stations, if they haven't gone digital already, to kind of catch up. Claire is on board, so I know, for example, she has one spot, and the media plays, even in this pandemic, the media plays an important role in sharing information, One project or one type of project that came out of this pandemic for us is we produced a Let's Talk COVID series where they give a weekly update, and we were inundated doing, up to now, digital press conferences, virtual audience, virtual auctions, a lot of corporate investor briefings that are all virtual on top of the normal production that we do. So I still think the type of content obviously will receive it differently. It might be different people telling the stories. The influencers are big in the space making their own content, but there'll always be some need for, I guess, traditional TV content, in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a kind of adaptive reality that's taking place right now, and millennials and the post-millennials will very well see it as well. What we're doing is merging the digital content, the content that usually sits in the traditional, fast becoming traditional digital space, with what has been traditionally TV. And to that degree, millennials understand it to mean that, look, this is where technology of old, or traditional technology, and technology of now are coming together for the common good, and that is to educate and to update the nation around COVID-19 happenings.
All right, so
Roxanne, I just wanted to make one, little point. For example, we can use the example of ESPN. ESPN just went through major cuts. They're part of Disney's group, so they just made their largest layoff. However, you do have people, they're big media players, and these are still huge companies with access to a lot of capital. So you find smaller players like Barstool Sports, which started as an underground sports network, if you check it out, and big media players are buying out these smaller players. So, I still think the powers that be, the huge media groups, they're probably looking at this space, and if the things make financial sense, I'm sure they'll acquire. If they can't do it organically, they'll probably acquire it. So I still think they will play a huge role in moving forward.
So for everybody, we don't think that TV will become null and void. There'll always be someone who will want to see it, and we'll have content that will satisfy that particular consumer.
Yes. Again, if you look at HBO, a Disney Channel, even though Disney launched their digital platform, they still have their cable networks running. And I'm sure that they've done the research to see that, well, yes, the cable channel is still needed. So yes, I think it's here for a little bit more.
So we all agree, I'm using Elon's word, that TV still has its pride of place. Tashara?
Yeah, to add to what Elon said is that consumers really tell you where things are going. Like, we are the product that people are trying to mine. We are the treasure right now. And if you look at it, TV we have this running joke in our office, because everybody, as Delana says, thinking, okay, what next? How do we evolve and meet the needs? But we have this joke that, and it's not a joke, it's probably reality. TV might be on your fridge. TV might be on your stove. TV might be already in your car. It's going to just be where it is, this physical or this system is, but it's going to still exist. It might be on your fridge because that's where you're cooking every day, but it will still be relevant.
Okay, so we know it still has its pride of place. As Elon said, we have our virtual events with Delano still putting on events with working with post-production, and as yourself, Tashara. Twain, any final words when we talk about how using Tashara Lee's words, data-driven, personalized influencers? Any final words when we look at TV?
I would Twain. I would want to just put a stamp of approval on what Elon said. I think we are the players on the ground, but there's so much that has to be done from a framework standpoint. And we have to get into that mindset of seeing the ROI on creative. It's not like you go in the store, it's not like a fast-moving consumer good. You go in the store, you buy and you get your money. Then you have to look to that. I'm sure when Netflix, and the stories of all of these, when they were coming out or when they were just being founded, it was, it's not gonna happen, impossible. And look now. And until we change our mindset, change the tools and that framework, then we might be left behind. So we really have to adapt and adapt fastly. And look to our consumers. I mean, we are selling to them. They are really the people who put money in our pockets. So if we have them and that data, use it and utilize it to move forward with TV and content. Yeah.
Thanks, Tashara. You were saying something, Twain? We're just wrapping up.
I agree with Tash. She pretty much covers pretty much. But the one thing I'd add is that for our local stations, I'd love to see more Jamaican content.
Agreed.
When I talk with my friends, there's like, hey, why you not editing a Jamaican empire, or why you not doing a Jamaican this, or etc.
And it's not that we don't have the creativity.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that we don't have the creativity, or it's not that we don't have the persons here to produce it. We have the persons. Tash, of course, can produce it. Delano can, arrange the team to shoot it. The post-production is here that can get it done. So I think more local content, the short films, the TV shows,
the documentaries, all of that,
etc.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would be nice to see on
Definitely. Elon, Delano, you have the last words. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll leave Elon. I was gonna say, it is a daunting time. It's a challenging time, but at the same time, if you're willing to adapt and if you're willing to be open-minded, I also think it's a very exciting time for media, you know. And we are in a position to kind of steer the direction where certain things go. So I think for that, if you're open and you're willing, and it's a very exciting time.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
Elon.
absolutely. Thanks. And I just want to support what you said, Delano, and to add that, look, the people are going to drive this evolution, if not revolution, where TV is concerned. And as the people do, through content producers, through free-to-air stations and other channels, right, pressure will have to be brought to bear, so to speak, upon our regulators for changes to the regulatory framework. The truth is that, you know, in as much as the technology is evolving, the laws, the regulatory framework also needs to evolve. And that framework must now adapt and be open-minded towards, you know, understanding consumer choice, understanding what influences consumer choice. And, you know, if they can look at, for instance, you know, reducing fees and taxes and whatever else, perhaps that would stimulate the production of local content, because then now the stations would be in a better position to pay for that content, because they have less to pay out in terms of government taxes and fees for spectrum and that kind of thing. So I think as we move forward, we need to start looking at how, you know, we can create models that not only enable the delivery of content in the new digital way, but also in as much as we're still tied to the traditional way, how can the enablers, the regulators, government in general, assist in this process?
Thank you so much. Final words there from Elon. Thank you to the panelists, Delano, Twain, Tashara, Lee. Thank you all so much. I mean, we could have kept going because there's so much more we could have unpacked, but I'm sure that our listeners got quite a bit out of it, and we'll be doing it again. I'm sure they'll be calling on you all. So that right now, before we close off, I'd like to invite Dr. Anthea Henderson, one of my former lecturers, who helped with the students to produce this event for the Caribbean School of Media and Communications, to bring your closing remarks. Dr. Henderson.
Thank you, Roxine, and thank you, Delano, Twain, Elon, Tashara, Lee. We have had a very scintillating conversation, and I think everybody has benefited from it in some way or another. So what I'd like to do is to close with a story, if I might, on the end of this World Television Day event. Once upon a time, there were two young boys being homeschooled. We'll call them Nay and Nick. Homeschooling was a family decision, and this was way, way, way back before COVID-19. The mother of these boys, and we'll call her Anna, for argument's sake, was going along quite nicely with this homeschooling thing until her boys discovered Robot Wars. Robot Wars. Remember Robot Wars? Never heard of it? Robot Wars was a BBC Two television program available here in Jamaica on cable, presented by Top Gear's presenter, Jeremy Clarkson. Professional and amateur roboteers would remote control their colorful, vicious, noisy robots in an arena. Robots like Chaos 2, Razor, and Carbide. The goal of this whole thing was to bludgeon, annihilate, destroy the robot of the opponent until it was just bits of scrap metal and smoking wires. So, as you can imagine, Anna was quite distraught. Every morning, her wonderful homeschooled boys would spend their first 2 hours of the day watching Robot Wars with great delight. This was totally against her plan. You're supposed to be reading, you're supposed to be doing math. Turn off the TV. She was sure they were missing out on their education, becoming illiterate and enjoying the process. Anna could have relaxed. Several years later, Nay and Nick told her they were learning all kinds of things, wonderful things from hours and hours and hours of watching the TV box. Things like velocity and power and how to self-right when the vehicle turns upside down and how to construct a wicked flamethrower. It was physics, it was chemistry, it was mechanics, it was electronics, robotics, psychology, and art. That, my friends, is education. Yes, we're talking about television, but we're also talking about education. In fact, Nay and Nick told Anna that if they had had more time watching television, they would have been even more brilliant as young men. So this evening, ladies and gentlemen, just want to remind you that the PR Lab this year chose the theme, "The future of TV is now." Yes, the future has arrived. The past is now too. And the past and the future are always in a dance together, and we're always in the middle. So enter COVID-19. Television is being brought back into the menu of local curriculum delivery. TVJ and CVM with Ready TV as a collaboration are all providing content for education. This is of course in combination with online curriculum delivery. So TV is changing as we speak, and we've discussed that this evening in different ways. It will become more interactive, more dynamic, more mobile, and more individualized. That we know for sure. What will remain, though, is that matter of choice. It's that matter of choice. It's all about how we choose to use the tool. It's always a choice, individual, social, and global. So I look forward to seeing how that process will unfold, and have no doubt that members of the PR Lab IMCC 3601, of which I have been a part this year, will play a very, very crucial role in its future iteration as practitioners, as consumers, and definitely as innovators. Well done, students. Well done.
Thank you so much, Dr. Henderson. This was truly a well-produced, timely event, and the discussions were well thought out, engaging and informative, and we all learned, and I'm sure with all the questions that were coming in and more that we all learned. But for all those online, please provide your feedback in the chat session. It will be greatly appreciated, so we'll get the feedback from you. It was my pleasure to be your moderator for this event, and I wish all the students continued success as they strive towards greatness. Pelicans for life. And for me, thank you all, the panelists, to Dr. White, Dr. Henderson, everybody, thank you so much, our listeners, or viewers rather. And from me, as always, walk good. I will now invite Miss Ashley Gibbs, final year student at Carmack, to move the vote of thanks for us.
Thank you, Ms. Nickel. Good evening, all. I consider it a great honor and a privilege to be extending the vote of thanks tonight. A great man once whispered, feeling thankfulness and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Today, I take the opportunity to put my gratitude into words. On behalf of the Caribbean School of Media and Communication and all the final year students of the IMCC 3601 Public Relations Lab, I would like to thank our moderator, Ms. Roxy Nickel, and our presenters, Mr. Delano Forbes, Mr. Twain Richardson, Mr. Elon Parkinson, and Tashara Lee Johnson for taking their precious time out and consenting to be our guest tonight. Your contribution to today's discussion will truly inspire greater appreciation for television and the work industry players put into delivering the content and affording us access. I would also like to thank our respected director of the Caribbean School of Media and Communication, Dr. Livingston White, who has graced us with his presence and remarks. Thank you, sir, for sharing your words with us. We have been fortunate to be assisted by our lecturer, Dr. Anthea Henderson. You have given us constant support and a lot of encouragement, and for that, we thank you. I also want to extend thanks to the members and staff of the University of the West Indies, who so ably and willingly assisted us in carrying out this important event. I also want to, last but not least, I would like to thank all the viewers for showing your interest in tonight's event and joining us virtually. Your presence here means the world to us, and your contribution to the discussion is truly invaluable. I once again would like to thank everyone for making this event successful. Please remember to stay safe and to follow all established COVID-19 protocols wherever you are. Good night, and thank you again.